here to tell you, Boeing designs and engineers and manufactures superb aircraft. Unfortunately, in the case of the MAX, I'll have to agree with Boeing CEO. They let the traveling public down in a fatal and catastrophic way.
Well, let's get more on this now with Simon Marks in Washington. Hi, Simon. Things really do seem to be going from bad to worse for Boeing now that the Federal Aviation Administration is confirming that it's looking into yet another problem with the 737 MAX 8 aircraft. What more do we know about it?
Well, we know that what's happened has caused further concerns among airlines, because just within the last few minutes, Southwest Airlines here in the United States has announced that it is extending its grounding of the 737 MAX until October. That means 150 flights every day that Southwest had planned to put on the 737 MAX won't be taking off until at least then. This is after it was disclosed that a Federal Aviation Administration pilot working on a simulator last week and putting that anti-stall software through what the FAA describes as erroneous activations, things that wouldn't happen in a normal day-to-day flight but could happen if that anti-stall software was not operating properly. Well, when the pilot tried to overcome what the software was doing, which was once again forcing the nose of the plane down, he was not able to bring the plane under control within the 40 seconds mandated by Boeing to salvage the aircraft. And he described this as a catastrophic loss of control of the plane. So the FAA, the Federal Aviation Administration here, says this is another problem that Boeing now must mitigate before those jets can get back in the air.
So in addition to this new problem, what has Boeing done exactly to address the existing problems with its 737 MAX aircraft?
Well, as you know, they've been working on the software, and they've also been working on their pilot communication, because part of the issue relates to the fact that pilots, through whistleblower activities, made it clear to the FAA that they felt as though they had been inadequately prepared by Boeing to deal with the kind of catastrophe that occurred in the cockpit of both that Lion Air jet and the Ethiopian Airlines plane, resulting in the loss of 346 lives between the two tragedies. Now, Boeing has put out a statement saying that it aims now to reduce pilot workload by accounting for a potential source of uncommanded stabilizer motion. Translated into English, that basically means that Boeing is now working on further fixes to try and make sure that pilots in the 737 MAX cockpit can deal with any eventuality that arises. What is not clear is whether the mitigation that they now need to engage in is a software fix, or whether it's going to require any kind of hardware reboot. And if it's the latter, if it's the hardware that's the problem, then aviation analysts say the grounding of the 737 MAX could last even longer.
Now, you mentioned Southwest Airlines extending the grounding of its fleet of 737 MAX aircraft. Do we expect that to be applied to other airlines as well? Are we likely to see the planes in the sky before October?
I think it's got to be highly likely that other airlines are going to follow Southwest Airlines' suit. I mean, bear in mind that these airlines schedule their flights out several weeks ahead of time, not just in terms of where the planes are going, but what equipment they'll be using on these routes. So Southwest is basically saying it will be at least October before they're ready to put the 737 MAX in the air once again, if everything is fixed to everyone's satisfaction. Highly likely that other airlines working to the same kind of timetables and deadlines will follow suit. And you can see that this is once again spooking investors. At the New York Stock Exchange, just as we came on the air, Boeing was trading about 2 percentage points down. It had traded a little bit lower than that earlier in the day. It seems to be slowly clawing some of its losses back. But investors are very worried about the way in which the airline has reacted to the problems with the 737 MAX, and worried that with 500 planes around the world unable to take off, stuck on airport tarmacs, that doesn't speak very well for the possible recovery of the company as it tries to weather this storm.
There's still a long way to go by the sounds of it. Simon Marks in Washington, thank you again for your time.